Hello and welcome to the Harriet Muller Art Channel, giving you the techniques to produce amazing artwork. So today I've had a request from one of my landscape drawing students, and he suggested that I do a tutorial showing how to use a stump for blending. So that's what I'm going to do. All that you're going to need are some pencils, an eraser and a stump. So you can get these at your local craft or art shop. They're basically compressed pieces of paper rolled up and they look just like this. You also need some sandpaper, just a little bit of sandpaper, and some paper, and that's all that you're going to need. So let's get started. So I've bought myself some stumps. As you can see, they're very inexpensive and they come in a pack, usually of different sizes. So I'll just take these out. You can see what they're like. So basically, they're just compressed, rolled up pieces of paper. You can make them yourself, but it's much easier just to buy them. And they've usually got a point at each end, and they come in these different sizes. So if you need to work on a large scale, use the bigger one and then use smaller ones accordingly. Now you may be wondering why I don't just use my finger or rubber to blend. The reason being because if you use your finger, you deposit all the oils that are in your finger, or on top of your finger, onto the paper. And that can make the paper disintegrate over time or blemish. And also it mixes in with the graphite or whatever medium you're using, and it can make it difficult to actually use that medium. So it's much better to use one of these paper stumps, and also you get much better precision. So you can see the tip. I could never do that with my finger, you know, even with my little finger. I wouldn't be able to do such small spaces. So that's another reason. I don't use the rubber because, well, that's a lie. I do actually use the rubber sometimes to help me blend or to take off some of the graphite that I've already put on. But again, we want to blend more with these stumps. We don't want to necessarily take off some of the medium that we've been using. So each thing has its own place and its own techniques, and I'll show you how to use the stumps in this tutorial. So I'm just going to start by doing an example of an apple. I'm using 6B and a 3B pencil, so I'm just going to go in there and very quickly just do some of the areas of darker tone. So I've got this apple in front of me, and the light source is coming from this direction. There's a much darker shadow underneath, so I'm pressing a little bit harder. And then just coming around here. I'm using kind of curved lines to follow the shape of the apple. So I'm just doing lots of these curved lines. There are lots of different techniques for shading. You can do some cross hatching where you go in one direction and then you go in the other. I like to use a combination of lots of different kinds of shading. And then we've got a little bit more up here. One side of the stalk's going to be much darker, and a little bit where it goes round the back. I like to use these lines that follow the contour of the apple. So the apple's rounded, so I'll do these lines. These curved lines going round. I'll add a bit more down here. At the moment it's looking really messy, but I'll show you how using the stump we can tidy it up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm doing the mid-tones. I'm actually going to use the rubber just because it's much lighter here. There we go. So that's my basic shading using the pencil. Now I'm going to come in using the medium-sized stump. So we're going to start off with the lighter tonal areas. So just here, and just using little circular motions, I'm just going to blend these lines that I've done before. Lots of little circles. And you're not using the stump. You can do, but in this case I'm not. I'm using, you can see where I've made it all dirty already. I'm using it at an angle. So if you can see, you know, there's a very small angle between the stump and the paper. Can you see how it's just blending in really nicely now? And also I can be really accurate going around the edges. I'm not going to go over the lines, though I often do. So here also making the shadow so that there's not an actual kind of really definite line for the shadow. We want it to kind of just blend outwards. So you see what a difference that's made already. Now you can go back in. Again, I don't think I've made this light enough, so I'm just going to go back in and add some areas, brighter areas using my eraser, sorry. We call it a rubber in the UK, but an eraser most other places. And then I'm just going to go in and just get rid of these harsh lines that I've created using the eraser. There we go. And you can go back in. What I tend to do, I just go back in and I'll just do some darker areas because you'll see that it kind of makes it a bit more uniform. So we want to kind of still have those areas of contrast. We need it much darker on this side. Need it darker still for the shadow. There we go. Can you see how it's taking shape? So I like to work a combination using the stump, then going back and then using the pencil until I get it just right. So I'm just going to blend these in again. And then it's done. So that's my apple done. Okay, now we're going to go on and I'm going to show you how to use a stump to do things like clouds. Now, what's the really good thing about using the stump is that you can actually use it as a drawing tool. So once you've made quite a mess on it, like I have, it's quite dirty, you can actually use that to just kind of block in areas of tone. So on these clouds, I'm just going to block in all the areas of tone. Sometimes that's all that you need. You don't need any more. So I won't even have to use my pencil much. But I don't think my stump was dirty enough to do that, so we will go in and we use the pencil. So I think I might use the 3B. So just using kind of strokes in one direction, just like this. I'm just going to block in the darker tonal areas. So this requires lots of observation. And a good way of finding out what the tone is to do the eyelash test. So that involves kind of squinting at what you want to see so that it blocks out all the colour really, and you're just left with the areas of tone. So you can just see the darks and all the lights and all the midpoints as well. So that can help. So there we go, and one on the cloud below. obviously the sky area as well. I'm not going to do all of it, but I'm just going to show you a bit, just for the demonstration. Again, all in one direction. There we go. So this is just a demonstration piece. I would actually go up here and do some more shading. Just very quickly, just kind of blocking in all the tonal values. There we go. Okay, so then we bring in our trusty stump and we can just blend away. So remember, using those circular motions that I was talking about before, and again holding the stump quite flat against the paper so you get maximum use of the stump. You can just go in, just doing these large circles all the way around. And then we go back in and then carry on doing some more. And here I'm actually using it to draw because I don't have any pencil marks there. And here I'm using it to blend. And the same down below. And then go in with a 6B, and then I'm going to do the darker areas. Now I'm using little circles with my pencil, kind of reflect the circles that I was doing with the stump. And here as well. There we go, and we go back in and we use the stump. And you carry on doing this, just gradually building up and building up. And then until you get all the different tones and these clouds. There we go. And the lighter areas we won't touch at all. In fact, if you want to use your eraser, you can go back in and you can highlight all the lighter areas again. So here I might have gone a bit crazy with my blending. Just make some of the areas a little bit lighter. And the same down below. Go back in with the stump just to perfect it. And there we have the second demonstration. So you might be wondering what to do if your stump gets dirty like mine. All that you need is some sandpaper really, and I just collect little scraps of sandpaper that I've been using for doing DIY around the house. And all that you have to do is just get the area that's dirty and just rub it along the sandpaper, holding it at an angle again. Don't do it like this, otherwise you'll weigh your stump down. And while you're doing it, you're rotating it. So I'm using my thumb to rotate it around. It's not easy at first, but you get the hang of it. So you go around and you go around and carry on doing this until your stump's completely clean. And that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please click subscribe and like. And if you've got any requests, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. Thank you very much. Bye bye.